Welcome to the Straight from the Source's Mouth podcast. Frank talk about sex and dating.
Frank talk, sex and dating educates.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's guest is Allison Jayne Ewing. You'll hear about her thoughts on Cinderella, ghosting, and being a goddess in the bedroom. And if you love the episode, be sure to tell your friends about it and rate it as well. Thanks for joining me today, Allison.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Should we move on to the final thing about the goddess in the bedroom, or do you have more to say about that still?
Yeah, we can move on to the second most popular chapter in my book, known as the sex chapter. Although I will say I've had some friends, like husbands, read it and they were like, oh, it wasn't that juicy. So I don't know what exactly they were looking. I should tell them to listen to your podcast if they're looking for juicy. So the reason, though, that I wrote that chapter, and it's called How to Be a Goddess in the Bedroom, is because I really wanted to empower women, especially at midlife, to start to feel confident and empowered and comfortable in the bedroom. Because obviously that's amazing for women, but honestly, I have yet to meet a guy who doesn't love that. They love it. They love it when you keep the lights on. They love it when you're comfortable in your own skin and you're not worrying about your body or how it looks or how it, what is happening. So that's the thing that I've had single women say, well, how do you give a good blowjob, or how do you do this, or how do you do that? And I'm like, you know how you do it? By having fun. And if you're having fun giving a blowjob, they're going to have fun too. But if you are trying so hard to get the guy to orgasm, they pick up on that and they know that you're like tense and you're just trying to get it done and you're just trying to get it over with. And that's no fun for anybody, because now like you're not having fun and he's not having fun.
Yeah, and you can go to the episode I have on the tools of how to do it, for future reference.
Awesome. Yeah. So basically what I talk a lot about in that chapter is about, again, getting out of your head by being mindful. So mindfulness, for anyone who doesn't know, is just being in the moment and paying attention to the moment by moment. So it's just being present is another way of putting it. And it is a skill. It is something that you do have to practice and cultivate, just like lifting weights to get muscles. It is something that you do have to practice. And one of the best ways that I know of learning mindfulness is just noticing when you're fully participating in something. So when, if you have kids, when you're laughing with your kids and something just happens and you're just having that spontaneous laughter and you're just sort of in it. And then afterwards you think back, oh, that was fun. But in the moment you weren't thinking, oh, this is fun. You were just in it and just absorbed in it, And so anything else you do, if it's, maybe a sport or a sailing or just even like when you go for a walk in nature and you lose track of time because you're just in it and you're not thinking about what's happening, but you're just participating in what's happening, that's mindfulness. And that is super healthy for us. There's tons of benefits the research has shown if we can spend more and more time in that place. That's why people tend to love travel, because when you travel to a new place, you have to be in it. Otherwise you're going to get lost, right? You have to be very present. You have to attune to street signs and know where you're going. So you have to be very present, and you can't be in your head worrying about your problems and what's going to happen tomorrow or thinking about the past and ruminating. You have to be present. So what does all this have to do with the bedroom is if you can apply mindfulness in the bedroom, it's going to change everything for you sexually, because when you're just really, really present and in it, you will have a transformative experience. You will have way better orgasms, or if you haven't been orgasming, you will start to orgasm, because you're not in your head thinking about, oh God, I hope I orgasm, or I hope he orgasm, or, you're not thinking, you're in it and you're experiencing it. And so I tell women the way to really do this, the way to start to train yourself is just very simple. You can just start noticing the feel, the touch of his or her, I should say, his or her feeling on your skin, of their fingers running over your skin, and just being really present. You can practice on yourself. I'm doing it right now in our interview. And, you can just practice and just really tune in and just feel that sensation without thought. And the more that you can be, having a sexual experience and not thinking about it, but just experiencing it, the more pleasure you're going to get out of that experience.
Yeah, and even laughing, like, if you try to turn and your arm gets stuck or something, instead of being all weird about it, just laugh and
yeah. Yeah.
With it.
So, and like I said, and it's definitely something that guys are looking for and guys are interested in. It's part of why I wrote the book. I had a couple of guys, I had one guy friend in particular who was like, will you please teach this to every woman you know? And I was like, well, I have been thinking about writing this book. So anyway, that was part of the prompt. And the point is just have fun, enjoy it, be in it, and you will have all sorts of way more fun new experiences. And also, I guess the other thing I really do, though, talk about that I should mention, which is important, is also having, obviously, very clear boundaries and communication. And I think the quote that I have at the beginning of that chapter is something like, it's from Gay Hendricks' book, but it's basically like it's important to have a sweaty, uncomfortable 10-second conversation, right? And I'm messing up the quote, but it's along those lines. And it's basically the idea that just name it, just talk about it, just talk about what you like, what you don't like. Guys love it when women are directive because they don't know what they're doing a lot of the times, and so they just want the feedback. And, most good, if a guy doesn't want your feedback, then you probably shouldn't be dating him. Like, let's just back up on that, or if a partner doesn't want it. And so, you want to know that you can say these things and it's going to be respected and honored. I had a friend who is probably like in her early 50s dating and said to me, well, how do you have a conversation with a guy about protection? And I was like, what do you mean? How do you have a conversation? You just have a conversation. But then I realized, I am a trained therapist. So I know that I've been trained to have uncomfortable conversations, to talk about things most people don't talk about, so on and so forth. And what I realized is most women out there, especially after leaving a long-term relationship, a long-term marriage, suddenly back in the dating pool, they don't know how to have these conversations. They didn't have these conversations in the 90s, that wasn't happening back then, right? So it is really hard. But then once, I've worked with women, once you just like rip the Band-Aid that first time and you just say, hey, these are my standards, take it or leave it, I think a lot of times sex starts when nobody has a condom. And so I always tell women, have one, be prepared, because, your health is the most important thing. So just, unless you're monogamous and committed, then always you want to be prepared. And they'll say, oh, but what if they think I'm like a slut or something for having them? I'm like, trust me, if they do, again, not a good guy. B, they're going to be excited, because it's either that or they're not getting any, or they're running out to the store, right there, right? Right. Right. So they're going to be happy when you have that. So, yeah. Just a final story I did want to share, and it does a little bit go back to the Cinderella chapter, but it incorporates everything we just talked about as well. I had someone that I worked with, and I was doing tapping with her actually on weight loss, not on relationship stuff. But she was doing a lot of tapping and clearing a lot of layers of old stuff, let's call it, that was sort of weighing her down. And she had known this guy for a long time. She knew him when they were both married. And then they sort of came back together as friends, and she kept saying to all of us in our like single women posse group, she was like, you guys, he's really great. Somebody should go out with him. Somebody should go out with him. But for whatever reason, like, she just didn't feel worthy or good enough she just didn't feel like she was going to be chosen by him, I think was the subconscious block there. So she kept kind of trying to push him on to other people in our little friendship group. And she had done some tapping, and then he called her up and was like, hey, you said like we should all go out with your group of friends and whatever, should we do that tomorrow? She was like, sure. So she called everybody, nobody could go. So it ended up just being the two of them. And I talked to her right before she went, and she was like, this is so great because I don't even like have to dress nice. I'm not even putting on makeup. I'm just wearing what I've been wearing all day. I don't even care. We're just friends. I just know he's a good guy. It'll be fun. Well, wouldn't you know, it's been almost a year and they're still together. And he completely fell for her that day. I mean, he already kind of was into her, but he was just, and she says he still talks about that outfit that I wore that day. And it was like this ugly, like jumper thing. Like she was like, but he just loved it. So the point is that it's about the vibe, right? And she shifted her vibe. She's definitely a goddess in the bedroom. She, shifted her vibe to a point of just being present, being in herself, not worried about him or what he's thinking, and just enjoying herself. And she found love.
There was, a saying that, yeah, if you choose someone that's not your type normally, you would be like that woman, like you described, because you're like, whatever, he's not my type. I'll just go have fun. And that's the time you're like your most, like you said.
Highest vibe, goddess self. That's what I say. So.
All right. Well, it has been wonderful having you. I want to make sure we get your information to people if they're interested in hearing about your programs. And I know you have another book as well. So just kind of share your stuff and how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So you can follow me on TikTok or Instagram, Allison Jayne with a Y, Goddess Maker. And you can also go to my website is the best way to find me at learntodatelikeagoddess.com. I actually put a promotion up for your listeners. Anybody who logs on right now can download a free ebook copy of my book, Find Love Again, Learn to Date Like a Goddess. And right now I'm running a program to go along with the book that I take women through 8 classes that go more in depth on all the principles that I teach in the book. And we do tapping circles together. And what's amazing about that is when women come together, one woman could bring something to the tapping circle and we all tap on it together, and you might not even realize that you had that issue until you tap on it with the other woman and it clears for you. So it's very, very powerful process. And this is why I love these tapping circles, and we clear so much stuff for so many women very quickly. So that's the program that I'm running right now.
If you love what you hear, be sure to check her out and all her stuff and get the free ebook for sure. Yeah, and those, like you said, those tapping circles sound really cool. So thank you very much for being on. I love educating and transforming and empowering people to have a better dating and sex life. So thank you very much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to rate and subscribe and follow and all the things. All right. Bye, everyone.
Frank Talk, sex and dating educates.